各位，5名主播一个话题，现场火药味十足。美国福克斯新闻频道这一场圆桌讨论，一开始只是例行的经济新闻，却因为一个名字彻底吵了起来。导火线是特朗普政府的新动作。美国商务部计划以国家安全为由，有可能以最快的速度出台规定，限制中国无人机与重型卡车的进口。表面看似关税谈判的延续，背后却是中美技术竞争的又一回合，而大疆成了现场争论的焦点。作为全球最大的无人机制造商，它的产品早已渗透进无数行业，消防员用它来穿越火场，警察用它来搜索失踪人员，新闻媒体更是依赖它拍摄航拍。正因如此，一旦禁令落地，美国境内从应急救援到影视拍摄都会立即缺货。一位主播质疑，如果本土供应商无法规模化生产，那不是直接危害到我们自己的安全吗？而另外一派毫不客气的回击是，国家安全优先，宁可短痛也不能让中国的技术渗透美国关键领域。他们强调，这是特朗普政府维护经济与安全的必要措施，至少这一届政府在行动，而不像前任那样装聋作哑。但是更有冲突感的是，他们把话题越扯越广，从无人机到冷藏卡车，从货船起重机的间谍阴影到抖音农业恐怖主义，似乎任何与中国有关的产业都成了潜在威胁。现场一度像是在开一场选举的辩论会，但也有人冷静提醒，现实比情绪更复杂。美国企业和普通消费者早已深度依赖中国供应链，真正的难题不是禁令，而是有没有替代品。当连执法部门都离不开大疆时，美国是否能在短期内找到同等技术和价格的本土厂商呢？其实这一场吵架的背后，是中美关系再一次被放上了显微镜。是要安全还是要便宜？是要继续全球化还是全面的脱钩？这个没有人能给出答案。但是可以肯定的是，特朗普的这一招，无论成败，都会让美中技术竞争升级到新的阶段。而禁令一旦实施，受到冲击的不只是中间厂商，更是习惯了中国制造的美国自己。那么，面对这一场围绕无人机禁令的激烈辩论，特朗普政府会如何定局呢？下一任的政府会不会推翻这一切呢？那让我们将这个悬念留给接下来的片段吧。
The Trump administration continues to crack down on China. The U.S. Commerce Department is preparing to issue new rules as soon as this month, restricting imports of Chinese drones as well as heavy-duty trucks due to national security concerns. Kelly Saber joins us with more. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Jackie. This is just another chapter of the U.S.-China technological rivalry. Now, in terms of heavy machinery, what we know is that we're talking about equipment for mining, tractors, everything from refrigerated trucks, a whole slew of vehicles and products that cover a number of industries. Now, with drones, we know a little bit more. Most of the concerns point to one company in particular, DJI, the world's largest drone maker. I have two examples of DJI drones here because our photographers use them to tell our stories. Hobbyists use them. This one's kind of big. We've got another one here a little bit smaller. But many industries use these in all sorts of important ways, like getting to unmanned, hard-to-reach destinations, and closer to home, firefighters, police officers, and EMS use drones as well. Take a listen to this.
Where a lot of the concern is, look, if you cut off our ability to use Chinese drones until there really is an at-scale domestic supplier or suppliers, they're going to be real-world harm.
The White House launched an investigation to determine if the president can use the same authority he uses to tariff steel or cars to tariff Chinese drones in the name of national security. Critics argue that the U.S. alternatives that we're seeing are not yet on par technologically, that they won't be nearly as affordable, and that many industries, like fire and police, as I mentioned, will be left without critical technology that they need to keep us safe. Jackie?
Kelly Saberi, thank you for that. And this was an issue during the campaign, and it's come up many times. We've discussed the drones, for example, as one issue for national security. Brian, what do you think?
Well, that's that's where this tariff conversation, I think, needs to go beyond the economics to questions of national security. I mean, trading with China would be great. And they respected the rule of law. They didn't rip off your stuff, and they weren't trying to, I'm not even going to COVID or anything like that. But my point is, I give the president, I give the Trump administration a ton of credit for navigating the complexity of the economic dimensions of trade and the national security dimensions of all of this. And so I think you can critique how they've rolled things out if you want to. You can critique certain pieces of this, but they are trying to do so many things at once to keep America safe and get the economy back on proper footing. And you know their intention is prosperity. And so I just think you've got to give them some grace on this. And this is a great example of this. The drones are a great example of this. Another example of these guys are always doing something.
I'm really glad you made that point, because I think it's an important point, which is in previous administrations, we'd see the president stick his head in the sand, act like an ostrich, like none of this was going on and everything's totally okay, kicking the can down the road so that America's children can deal with it in 20 or 30 or 50 years, whatever the case may be. At least in this administration is trying something. Maybe not everything they try is going to work, but they're trying, like Brian said, with the best intentions at heart.
You raised the issue. I agree. I was just sitting here thinking, from on high, thank goodness that Kamala Harris is not the president of the United States. Given everything that the Democrats in leadership hid from the American people about what was really happening and what they were doing, like what was really going on with Joe Biden, but what they were really doing to business privately, literally crushing businesses, putting people under, destroying families, entrepreneurs, what they were telling people in not just crypto, but in the entire artificial intelligence industry. It was just an abomination what they were up to. That being said, with the tariffs, like there is Section 232 for national security, right, and which have been used by the Trump administration. And people are craving kind of coherent communication about what the Trump administration is doing with, say, NVIDIA and AMD can export lower level chips to China, and the American government is going to keep 15% of the revenue. I don't think that people can kind of get their heads around, and myself included, what the real strategy is. Because when you think about national security, when you want to keep the chips here, I know the argument for ensuring that the entire stack of AI is based on American technology, but there needs to be kind of better communication out of the White House about it.
A lot of this isn't AI. I mean, they talk about refrigerated trucks, and I don't know, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but a lot of Americans used to own a Packard. They drive a Packard. Now they drive a Toyota. They used to watch a Zenith TV. Now they buy and own a Samsung TV. So, I mean, trade, I think, is positive. And if the Chinese can make very cheap trucks or very cheap drones, why not have Americans buy them? The money saved can be reinvested in more productive.
What if the drones are spying on us?
I mean, there's
our own Fox Business producer, camera person there said they're being used by Fox Business for television production.
I think what's
I'm not arguing against that,
Brian. I think what's unappreciated to this day, nearly 10 years after the fact, is the way the Trump administration in 1.0 completely changed the conversation on China forever.
Yeah. From
friendly trading partner to something else. And both parties have embraced it. And I think the spy balloon 4 years ago reminded us of that. Yeah. I'm keen on this idea of resource nationalism, where everything, not just chips and AI, but copper and aluminum and steel. I think the copper tariffs reminded us of that here. So there are so many fronts to this battle. I still think it's very early.
And also, it's what the president says that, when we opened up trade with China, then you had generations of people here in America that got used to consuming cheap stuff that they don't necessarily need. But that's the same argument with spending. When you try to take it away from people and they've had it, it's very hard to do. When all this stuff floods the marketplace, it's very hard to tell people, we're changing and rewriting the script on this. And I think that takes some time for implementation. I personally worry about what happens with the next administration or the one after that, whenever a Democrat does get back in the Oval Office and then wants to reverse course on this. Are we going to really get anywhere? But at least we're having these conversations now. All right.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's everywhere, though. Like shipping cranes used for espionage, agro-terrorism by people,
Right.
by Chinese communists who were studying at University of Michigan. Numerous people arrested spying or trying to spy on our military installations across the United States. So
Yeah, the whole TikTok of it too. That we don't know where we stand on that anymore, but that was part of that.
yeah, I was in favor of just getting rid of that, ban it.